Julia Ward. I never knew that the method of rote memorization you described was A, called Chinese school, B, a cult technique, or C, foreign to most people. I was taught that way in school for everything, from grammar lists, prepositions, being, verbs, etc., to Bible verses. I went to a fundamental Christian school which taught a lot of propaganda-like theories, which I always questioned and received negative responses for doing. It has always confused me that my teachers were so defensive and refused to discuss doctrines or other faiths. It shows an insecurity in one's own faith to turn a blind eye to different opinions. Do you think that insecurity in belief could be one reason why Scientologists are so closed-minded? In your experience, is there something that can be done to help someone so engrossed in any one way of thinking to learn to think critically? I would certainly agree that closed-mindedness would come from, or one source of that could certainly be fear. There's a thing called cognitive dissonance. We talk about it a lot because it has a lot to do with the mental gyrations that people experience when they're confronted with information that is contrary to core beliefs or ideas that they already hold. And what they tend to do with those new ideas that come in is reject them or twist them or alter them in order to fit their own preconceived ideas. That's just a common reaction to cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable feeling that they get. It doesn't have to be that way, and if a person's trained critically to think critically or logically or with more reason, then they might recognize that uncomfortableness is coming from this conflict of ideas, and they might actually adjust their core beliefs to more fit, this new idea that's coming in, if this new idea is proved to be more reliable, accurate, or reasonable than what the idea they were already holding on to was. But that's the battle, that's the fight we have psychologically with people who are in destructive cults, is they have totally, we call it, they're just drinking the Kool-Aid, right? They've totally bought into these ideas, and they hold on to them very, very tightly. Not just in destructive cults, of course. This is common across religious ideas and religious beliefs. It's also extremely, extremely problematic when you're talking about politics or social issues. People get very, very, they really hold on to these core beliefs they have to the point where they're unwilling to engage or look at other ideas. From my own experience, it took a jarring jolt of reality to challenge those core beliefs that I had in terms of Scientology, and it took years of seeing that things were not in accord with those ideas before it started finally getting through to me that those beliefs that I was holding so tightly to were not in fact true or even rational or reasonable. I needed hard physical evidence of that in my face over and over again before I finally started breaking down those walls. A single conversation, debates, multiple conversations are only chipping away at those beliefs or at the foundations of those beliefs, and it takes I think a lot of work to overcome those kind of things. So you got to prepare for that in terms of how do you challenge someone's beliefs on this. You have to really find out what is it about those beliefs that the person is holding on to that they find so certain or so sure. Maybe there's a problem that person has that those beliefs solve. Or maybe they were raised with those beliefs, and so they've really never had any other fundamental worldview or outlook on life. And so when you challenge those kind of things, you're just challenging core beliefs that the person has that he's just never been able to conceive of another way of looking at things. And maybe if you were to say, well, look, if you could somehow present it in such a way of, could you imagine that, maybe instead of this thing always being blue, that it could possibly, in some bizarre way, be red. Just maybe, just craziest idea ever, I know, but let's just try to entertain it for a minute. That sort of, maybe, make it very safe for the person to imagine or look at something differently than the way they've always been looking at it, or the way they think it should be, right? without threatening or antagonizing or in any way making them feel like they need to be defensive about their position. I think that's important. I don't always practice that, of course. Sometimes I get very like about things because of course I feel strongly about things, and so you get these clashes. But that's a struggle of life. So to bring it back to your question, yes, I think fear could drive some of that unwillingness to look at another idea or belief because they fear that they will have to change their mind. Yes, that could definitely be a factor. And also just people's need to be right. That can also enter into it. So I think there's a number of factors there.